Carlos Nelson with What's Up Kansas City, and today we're going to be talking about economics in the African American community. We have some special guests on. To my left, to your right, we have John Webster, we have Tanisha Coleman, and we have Oscar Bolton. And we want to talk about economics here in Kansas City for African American businesses. John, I'd like for you to lead off the discussion about how you feel the economic situation is here in Kansas City for small businesses, and particularly for small African American businesses.
Well, I don't think the situation in Kansas City is any different than what it is around the country. And I only can speak specifically about African American businesses, and that is this continual uphill climb against forces that have been set to marginalize and push our businesses to the periphery. And that's a direct function of us being in a captured market. The African American market is captured. There are other entities that are here, either corporate entities or other ethnic entities, that have taken over those products and services that we traditionally have provided for ourselves, and some that we would like to, but we're blocked out of. So I don't want people to get the impression that business is benign. You know, business is a type of economic warfare. But if we go in it from the standpoint of business is benign, it's nice, you can do what you want to do, just follow your dreams, you're really at the back end of the curve. The other thing too is that people think of business as an individual pursuit. It's not. Business is a team sport. It is an expression of a people's objectives and culture. So we've been sold on this concept as an individual businesswoman, individual businessman out there trying to make as much money as they can. And you're losing against others who are organized. And by the mean of organized, I mean those who have identified a niche, who do collective buying, who organize their resources, who leverage the banking community, and then use their resources to make sure that their elected officials support their objectives. That's where we're losing out on the business front. And even if we did all those things, I don't want anyone to believe that there is not a history in America that has prevented us from moving forward that we would have to overcome. So it's more than a notion, but it certainly is not a plaything.
Tanisha, with you being having a small business, how do you feel the opportunities are available here for your business? The economic opportunities, the participation, and Mr. Webster, he spoke on a key point that it's a team sport. And I don't think, and when I say sport, I'm using sport as an analogy, that it's not an individual thing. And I don't think that the African American businessman, small business person, really understands that. What do you have to say about your business experience? And how long have you been in business? And tell our audience what the name of your business is.
Well, honestly, this is my first time hearing. And I really do appreciate that to look at this as a team sport, as you so called it, Carlos, because out here grinding, trying to be a entrepreneur, because everybody glamorizes, you want to be an entrepreneur, it sounds good, but when you do it as an individual type deal, it is harder. I'm wearing all 17 hats, and this hat was made for one. But if we did collectively come together and were able to utilize this as a team deal, then I can call on you when I need things, and you can call on me. And if you couldn't do it, you know somebody else in the community that can. And I never really thought about it like that. And I've been in business for a while. And granted, I've been struggling for the amount of time that I've been in business. It's just like, well, you know, you're a business owner, you're a small business owner, you just got to take the punches. You make it the first 3 years, then you can go the next 5. And why should I get beat up while trying to do what I'm good at? Yes, I'm passionate about it, but I'm also good at what I do, and I love what I do, and I want to share that, but why get beat? When in essence, all I got to do is get on a team of like-minded folks that understand business, and we can help one another.
Well, I think you've known me for a minute. That's what I've been advocating, team, working together. As I have reiterated that in business and with your engineering firm, I would think your cost mainly is in HR. A lot when you have good people, you got to pay them, but we can overcome that by trading services, bartering. You do photography as you work with Cascade Media Group, and I might can do some things for you. Same thing with Mr. Webster. He's in engineering, but he want to get a video made. He wants to do this or do that. There was times when I owned a restaurant, pizzeria, and I was like, Ajamu, I need you to come and do the engineering. They won't let me put the thing, the fire when you over the grill.
Exhaust fan?
Yeah, the exhaust fan and everything. And he's, well, you got no money. I can't do that. Well, you know what? We can do some other things for your company, and we've got to learn to be able to do that, and that will help us cover some of the things that we would have to have liquid to do. And I don't think we've been really good at being a team-oriented community to work together. What are some of the stumbling blocks that you feel that you have from an economic standpoint in having a thriving business? You as a small business right here in Kansas City.
Lack of capital. I mean, everything requires money. And so I need money to market. I need money to advertise. You know, I need money to see projects from start to finish.
John, because you've been involved, and I don't know where the credit union is right now, because I think you know that is a major obstacle, and you've been trying not just to talk about it, you've been trying to put some things in place to deal with it. Where do you see that for small businesses, the economics opportunity to get the economics to run a business here?
You know, there is the issue of capital is a serious issue, but capital is more than just money. Okay, capital can be intellectual. It could be relationships. So think about it like this: if I wanted to stop right now and move to North Korea and set up a business, it doesn't. I'd have come in with a lot of money, but if I didn't have the relationships, if I didn't know context, if I didn't know the politics, if I didn't know people, that money would be gone. Okay. So one way to think about it, that's the reason why we have such an advantage doing business in our community, because we have the social relationships that we can leverage for economic purposes. Going back to this question of capital, I mean, certainly you need to have some money to pay your people and get your goods and services, but a lot of that can be minimized by working collectively. So when you start talking about a question of a credit union, and we are just resubmitted our package for our business plan to the National Credit Union Administration, and hopefully by the end of the year we'll have a charter. We already have a location and other things set up. When we start talking about a credit union, all you're really talking about is having a large group of people take a small amount of money and put it together that can be relent to a number of people who can then leverage that money for business and homes and that sort of thing. So it's collective work and responsibility. Basically, that's all it is. So from the standpoint of capital, let's just kind of dispel this. You're not going to be able to walk into a bank and say, I want to start a business and I need $1 million. Because you can do it, but when you walk out of there, you won't have a smile on your face. It's just not the way it works. Most people are not going into business that way. What prevents us from being able to do what other people have done is essentially what has happened to us from the standpoint of redlining and racial discrimination, to where the house that my father owned won't be worth as much as if he had gotten a house, if he could get a GI Bill of gotten a house in another part of town, to where now he's got a $300,000 house as opposed to a $50,000 house. If I go to him and say I need $200,000 to start a business, he doesn't have it. Whereas if there was a parity in terms of the issues of lending and redlining and discrimination, we would have the kind of wealth in our community where we can leverage a house or leverage some land in order to go into business. That's what happens. And so going back to the question of capital, capital is social relationships, but it's also, again, the impediment that we have is we've been held back from capital accumulation that we could have used now to go into business and other things.
All right, you brought up redlining and that situation. Now I'm going to hand it over to my guest because Osco, with this violence that is going on in Kansas City, and as I called Osco and he was graciously came. I know you laughing, but I called you the last minute. I think I called you at 12 o'clock, and I said I had a conversation, and they were saying you need to talk about this violence and how it's tied to economics in our community. And so I was like, Osco, I have a Jamu coming over, and I have Ms. Thompson coming over. Could you sit on the panel? And at 3 o'clock, he said, all right, Nelson, I'll be there. And I feel a lot of our violence in our community is really at the systemic cause of, I would say 75% is economics. And it's like, you and your wife could be arguing over the salt shaker, but it's really not the salt shaker. It's that you haven't been bringing in income or whatever, and it spills over. And our community is so much tension and so much lack of resources. It really doesn't take much to get frustrated and do something that you regret. And that's happening to me over and over. So, what's your take on this? The ball is in your court. This is something, as you said off camera, you got a lot of experience. And tell our audience a little bit about that.
Well, I mean, it really does attach to what Brother Jamu was saying, but in the sense of what he said, capitalism is all over the whole cap of it, not just the financial part of it, because you still got to look at education. You got to look at, if you have a people and you give them $1 million, how long will they keep it? Most of the former sports players, a lot of them, they retire broke. How many people win the lottery and then 10 years later they don't have anything? So it's not, you have to be able to give that type of finance and that type of capitalism to people who have the mindset to deal with it. I was taught by people who have money, even some of, a couple of Asian friends, they said they never spend their own money. We tend to start companies with our capital, and then when it fails, we don't have anything left. But what they say is we don't spend our own money. But we have something to back it though. And I think that's the difference. If you have something to back it, then you can come in, because when you put together a business plan, you want 3 years worth of money for your own to take care of, to pay yourself and with the other pieces. But what I'm going to is this: we are a people in darkness, and Jamu and what he's talking about is how do we enlighten us? When you in darkness, everything becomes major. I didn't know I was poor when LA came in. I didn't know. I thought I was doing good with $20 Pro Wing Eagles. But when they came in, they made me look at the Nikes. They made me want the rims and the car, the hops. But before then, I was fine with tough skins on, $20 Pro Wing. We played kickball, we climbed trees. We didn't look for no finances. We didn't even get involved with the gangs because of money. We got involved with the gangs because they gave us a sense of brotherly love. It was a false sense of love, but it still was something I long for. So that's where it starts.
With the violence in Kansas City, you don't think that has anything to do with economics?
Not the whole thing.
No, I don't say the whole thing.
A part of it, but it's not the biggest piece. Violence is not because of no money. If I kill you for $5, do you think that's because of the money or because of my ignorance?
Well, I think I had conversation off camera about one of the engineers that's here. They're off camera right now, and he has two of his sons shooting on multiple cameras what we're doing right now. And I said the moment I met his son Jordan, I knew from his conversation, when he opened his mouth, he was brought up a certain way. And he was brought up that way because his dad had the financial wherewithal to put him in the right schools, to put him in the right environment. And I don't feel he feels threatened, or his kids feel threatened, or need to have that pressure on them that anything can set them off. And I think that from the mental health standpoint and the financial thing, our community, especially our youth, by me being in media and seeing how advertisement buy Nike, buy a Cadillac. One thing I'm really sharp on you, Ajamu, with your large company and you pulling in a few dollars, I can't count your money. You drive a little small car because you understand wealth is not in buying a Mercedes. And you understand that the media is saying, buy this, buy that. When I did reparations with Mickey Dean the other day, and he was saying a lot of people think they're going to get a check. But if they gave African Americans every one $1,000 in 2 days, that money would be out of our community.
That's exactly what I'm saying. But see, you just told on yourself when you use our brother with his sons as a prime example.
What?
Not only did he have the money to do that, that wasn't about the money. He had the mindset. Because a lot of brothers in Kansas City made a lot of money selling crack cocaine. They didn't do anything different. They didn't try to go to prestige. They didn't send their children to prestigious schools. So it starts with the mind.
Well,
I'm saying if your mindset is not right, I can give 4,000 fools a job and they won't have them until the first paycheck.
Well, what I'm saying to you, it's not so much that you're talking only a small segment. What I will say, because I'm 68 and have seen the progress from the civil rights movement from when African Americans first was let into corporate America, per se. And the neighborhood even that I moved in when I came here in 78, Sheridan Estates, where you had your first all black neighborhoods, where you had the doctors, your lawyers, and even back then, teachers were on the same par as a doctor in our community. The garbage man was even respected in our community. And it's a mindset, but you get a lot of that when you have wealth and you're with a different social class, even, which brings a different set of morals, a different set of behavior. When you first started your business, Ajamu, who was you able to do business with, per se, versus where you're at now, and what did you learn in doing business?
I'm going to spin this if you don't mind.
All right.
Okay. And here's the thing, and that is this. That Dr. Bobby Wright made a statement. He said, if you don't know your culture, then you don't know how to act. And in a sense, where we find ourselves in a situation where we have been taught to hate ourselves. So if I've been taught to hate myself, then I can't love this sister. That's just the way it is. And our being taught to hate ourselves is economically functional for the survival of the American economy and American ecosystem. We got to be first of all, we got to be clear about what that is. And to a degree, it doesn't matter which school we go to. Every school, and to give you an example, during the colonial period, if I wanted to have you be my agent, I would pick you out of the group and I'd send you back to Europe or whatever, where you can be educated, where you would learn my values, you would learn my culture, and you would learn to hate your own values and culture. Then put you back into the environment with your own people, and you couldn't help them. No matter what you wanted, you could not help them. Because you don't understand that you have been turned into a mindset of all you can do is help everybody else. So let me give you another example. We can take all of the folks we have with PhDs and master's degrees in business administration and put them in our community, and they cannot help our community because they have not been socialized culturally to make that a priority. So they've let us into corporate America, and what have we done? We help corporate America make more money for those who are shareholders in corporate America. It did not translate to building up our community, and it never happens like that for any people who are colonized anywhere in the world. The only difference in America, we don't know we colonized. We desire to go to what we call institutions of higher education, which is just institutions of higher colonization.
That's all it is.
That. And when we get there, we can't help anybody. And then we turn around and see other brothers and sisters who don't even go to that, and we look down on them. At least from a mindset, they haven't been taught to just serve everybody else other than themselves. So going back to what the point that Brother Osco made, and it's clearly this. The first thing we got to do is get control of our culture and minds of our folk. We got to let them know who they are. Because it doesn't matter if you flat broke. If you know as an African person that you are in charge of your own destiny, that you're not to hate yourself, then I can't hate you. It's just impossible. It can't happen. And once we make that our objective, then from that culture will flow our economics. The culture drives your economics. The reason why we have a economy in our community that doesn't work for us, because we got a culture that says we got to go make everybody else rich. So I go to school to do what? Get a job, to do what? Make somebody else rich. All right, that's what I go to school for. And if you're not in school, I'm on you, because you ought to be in school so you can get an education so you can make them rich too. Now, who teaches that our objective that we have to deal with our own shelter, safety, food, clothing, shelter, safety, and security? Who teaches us that is our primary objective? Because if that is my primary objective, everything I do will spin from how do I provide food, clothing, shelter, safety, and security for our community. Colonized people are taught to think that way, and we're the most colonized people in the world. So I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised in 2019, after watching everybody leapfrog over us and gain all kind of political, economic advantages, I'm not surprised that we are in a condition where we're so frustrated that we're turning on ourselves, because it's absolutely necessary that we do that if the current economic structure is going to remain in place. It's not our fault. It's not our fault.
Well, and you know what, John, you and myself are definitely on the same page and see what the situation is. When it resonates with me when you say it's not our fault.
It's not.
And a lot of us will say, well, it's his fault that he didn't go to school. It's his fault. No, we're in a system that is a vicious system that most of us don't even understand what education is about. It's educating you to follow what they want you to do. And when you don't do it, it's like I put it all like The Matrix. Most people have seen the movie The Matrix. For individuals, they have those agents when you step out of line. For countries, they have our massive military that you don't do what we want, bam, you're out of power. And so we have been taught to distrust one another. We have been taught to hate ourselves, not just, we look in the mirror and sometimes you can lie and say you don't. People like, man, being black is tough. I wish I could be Chinese or anything but being black. And that doesn't come naturally.
No, it's a learned behavior.
And with us, Cascade being in the media, we really understand that we have been programmed as African Americans since we came out of our mother's wombs. But it was one time where it was about color, race, and all of that. But we're in the 21st century, and now, from my perspective, it's that 1% or 10%. It's about the haves and the have-nots. And they've even tricked the majority community to vote against their own interests by laying certain things out. And it's really about the haves and the have-nots. And most of these people that are running things, they know the history of economics. They know the history of marketing. And not only do they know it, they're using it. And we're still in the same situation.
And the regime above them know who we are.
Who do you think that is?
You know, well, I mean, yeah. Anyway, the regime above them, they know who we are. The people who control the president know who we are.
Well, that's corporate America.
And so what we're talking about, well, it's bigger than that. But anyway, that's another topic.
All right.
Put that out there being filmed. But anyway, the point of what I'm saying is, we've been taught, just like he said, an African descendant will go to school for 12 years, get the highest degree to do what? Become an employee. If that ain't the saddest thing in the world ever, and then we celebrate it though. We've celebrated that you've gotten out of it. We've celebrated that you went and got the highest elite degree that you can get, but you became an employee and you walk around like this and you work for the person that hired you don't even have the degree that you have. Come on, man. And how many PhDs that look like us and they don't even have a company? They haven't built a school for their own community. It tells you exactly right there. We've been set up in the sense that I don't love you and it's easier to kill you because look at how we was raised. Superman white, Wonder Woman white, Spider-Man white, Batman white. the most powerful people on TV when we were coming up, the Italians and the police departments and the FBI, all those people were not associated with us. But when you try to find one natural African descendant hero, find one. Find one. They just came up with your boy, but guess what? They let you know that if it wasn't for the meteor and him drinking that little juice from the tree,
Who's that?
that's the Black Panther.
Oh, I haven't seen it yet.
But the minute he loses that, he's just a regular brother. Then they brought in the Black Green Lantern before him, but once you take his ring, he's just a brother. But Superman is all natural. Wonder Woman is all natural.
Didn't look at it like that.
So we have to talk about that. Then you got raised with the one who represents God, which is known as Jesus to most of us. Look, and what we've been sold there. So how can we see ourselves as somebody of importance or somebody special? So we just become the N-word, and it's easier to kill you N-word versus than to hurt them. See, the white boy hit me, I'm ready to beat him up. You hit me, I'm gonna kill that N-word. And that's how we've been programmed. So until you deprogram and take the virus off the computer, and then I can sell you $1 million program. If you got a virus on there, it won't matter. It will not matter. And until you remove the virus, we got that thing called that N-itis that's in here. Until you remove that and let me see myself as a man, and that I'm part of this earth, and that part of this was made for me too. You're not going to make me see anything different. And that's why we naturally, as men, we will defend her. I don't even have to know her. But if you put your hands on her, I'm jumping in because I'm back to who I am. But when you in that inward stage, shoot, I don't know her. Ain't my mama, ain't my sister. And this is the mentality that we coming up with. So give me all the money you want to give me. All that dope money that came through Kansas City, we didn't build no houses. We didn't start no companies. We could have built banks off some of the money some of these brothers seen. And I watched brothers count $250,000 every Saturday. And I was only 16. They paid us $1,000 a week just to stand on the corner. Because it wasn't none of that, call in. It was do a signal, police coming. $1,000 a week, and several of us got that type of money. We didn't build anything in our community. And they knew when to put the money, when to allow the dope to come in. Because they knew we was too ignorant. We wasn't going to build anything. We could have built an empire with the type of money that crack cocaine made.
Well, what do we do now? And what
You just said it.
All right, and where I'm at from a media standpoint, this is why I'm trying to have this program to try to enlighten and inform more African Americans to some programming that speaking to our issues and not just the problem. My solution is, and some people says this, well, it's because it's Cascade. We don't have a digital footprint. Cascade Media Group, What's Up Kansas City, has a digital footprint. I always say for the Kansas Cityans that have been here 30 years ago, the Kansas City call, 95 to 98% of every African American had that call on Friday. And that kept you informed on what was going on in your community on several different fronts. It was good for the ministers, it was good for the politicians, it was good for the businessmen, because we had X amount of circulation. Now you can't wait a week to get information. And we have a digital footprint, but it's totally, grossly underutilized. And before you can straighten anything out in your community, you've got to be able to communicate with them. And so,
you hit it right on the head. You hit it right on the head, and you can't say that no better, man. I mean, but we also, when we use it, we have to be telling the truth. A lot of people may not agree with me, but I don't teach my children that we were slaves. Because a slave does not have to be guarded by dogs and beat. A slave, the original slaves were servants. They didn't run. We were prisoners of war.
A lot of people
were
take
forced. So we were prisoners. Let's just say that first and foremost. And then we were later released.
What you got to say?
I don't stay with that slave thing because we have never been enslaved.
You're giving him the
I'm just saying right on.
all right, because I'm different.
And that's how we get our money, by letting them say, okay, when you illegally imprison me, then I get a check. But that's why we've been fighting over the slave thing. If we say y'all illegally imprisoned us, give me my check.
Well, I'm saying that just like on the reparations issue, there have been quite a few intellectuals slavery versus we prisoners of war. That's why I'm saying that. And I.
Well, what he's saying is absolutely true, because nobody volunteered to get on a ship to come here.
Right.
And like Brother Osco said, nobody said, y'all take care of all this, I'm gonna be gone on vacation for 2 weeks, and when I come back, I want y'all to have all these baskets full. That never happened. It was like Dr. Clark had said, that slavery was warfare. It was not only warfare on the bodies, but on the culture of African people. And if you look at places that, and all over the Caribbean, we uprise, and in America against it, but that is the information that we need to teach, because it lets us know what our capacity, capabilities are. As long as you take in your mind that you're inferior, subservient, then you're already defeated. Okay, so yeah, I agree with Oscar. We started teaching our folks, oh yeah, we were slaves, and somebody named Abraham Lincoln freed us. That is so far-fetched from the truth. We freed ourselves, and in the process of freeing ourselves, we helped them save the Union. But it was over with if we hadn't gotten involved in it. So my point, going back to what Oscar said, this really is about what it is that we teach ourselves. And the point is, us not teaching ourselves is absolutely economically functional for America to remain in the dominant economic position that it's in. In other words, there's an economic benefit to us being ignorant of who we are. There's an economic benefit for us shooting up our communities the way we do, because we're not a threat. And what makes you a threat is if you get control of your own culture and economy. That makes you a threat. If you don't believe me, just look at every place in the world, particularly in Africa, or even America, where any of our leaders have tried to get control of the local resources, they became a threat, and they were victims of coups and assassination. Do you think that's an accident?
Hold it. You
It
think
happened right here in the United States.
Hold it. Let me say this to you. And I think I'm coming to you on this. And I think I've said this to you. I'm nobody, but I fear for my life trying to unite Kansas City and put a platform together. Next thing you know, they be like, where's Mr. Nelson? Oh, you didn't see he was in a car accident? Oh, or he had a heart attack? Because that's the scenario that I see.
Well, but there's two things to that. There's two sides of this. If we try to stay consistent with the culture that we've been fed, then our goal is to live as long as you possibly can with as much money you can put in your pocket. We'll never win with that. We got to understand that one thing I guarantee, all of us are going to die.
Nobody's getting out alive.
That's right. So the issue is not whether or not you live or die. What is it that you contributed? How did you help move your people forward? And because of that, as long as they put the fear of death on us as being more important, then we've already defeated. I mean, can you imagine signing people up for the army and saying, everybody that want to die, come on and join the army? Who's going to join? People have to have a mission greater than themselves. And as long as we individualize ourselves, and then we're afraid to die, which means we're afraid to stand up, which means we're afraid to make a contribution. We say, oh, Dr. King got shot, he got killed, I don't want to stand up for black people. Then you're already defeated. So the other part of that is understanding all of us are going to die, even if we don't do nothing but lay down on the floor. What did you live for, and what was the purpose? And at some point, we all are going to stand in front of our ancestors. They're going to ask us, well, what did you do with this 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years you have? Well, I watched a lot of TV, I played a lot of ball.
Right.
Then you wasted your entire life. Who did you help?
Who did you help?
How did you move our people forward? Don't come up here and complain about how bad things are, because some of us will give a report on how bad it is in our community. No, what did you do to solve the problem? What did you do to make it better? And that is the cultural orientation that we need to have. I tell you what, they had that cultural orientation in Haiti, and that's why the Haitians threw off the British, threw off the French, and threw off the Spanish, and stood where no one ever invaded the island for 114 years. Okay?
And don't get the whisper, we'll get recorded.
Let me say this. On that, and that's why the Europeans, Haiti's in the situation that they're in today, because it's like they can never forget that they did not get colonized the way everybody else did, to a degree.
They took the arrows in the chest for the rest
Boy, did they take the arrow.
But they created the environment where the rest of us could liberate ourselves. All of us every day should send money to Haiti to thank them on a regular basis for what they've done. They stood up, they took those arrows in the chest. They defeated all the major European powers. And if they had not done that, right now today, all of us would be rushing out here back to the plantation, because it would not have ended without them taking that step. What do we owe them? Do we owe them to say, oh, okay, my greatest goal in life is to fit in corporate America?
Do
Is
you
that what
even
we
think,
owe
hold
them?
it, do you even think, hold it, do you even think that, you talked about those PhDs, cause see, my theory is the people that really can help us, that look like us, is our middle class, but they have been, indoctrinated and programmed, not to, do the things they need to do in their
I wish
community.
if this was a 2-hour show, I would talk more about that.
No, let's talk about it because I would,
The
yeah,
program
yeah.
but
come in,
no,
and
okay.
where
All right,
does
let's
the
go, let's
deprogramming-
go.
How do we start deprogramming?
Again, you can't
That's-
this is
That's
me.
what I want to jump in on right
You
there.
can't deprogram unless you have a program that is giving useful information. When our first program, and I think I spoke to someone that's off camera, Aaron, when I said earlier today, I said our first program on using this new equipment and what have you, when you really explained what after the Civil War, from an economic standpoint, that we had all these skills and what have you. So let's talk. You say 2 hours, whatever.
Yeah, I'll do this.
But
Go
let me
ahead.
throw this in there real quick, John. And it's something that you spoke on, and you kicked it off when you talked about death.
All right.
Okay, but let's talk about what immortality is. Because the reason you can't kill me is because I've embedded myself in 4,000 young people in Kansas City and over 60,000 across the country through leadership development, and they all got a piece of me, which they've been passing on and passing on and passing on. And every time I hit the streets and I here's the dude who's in the 8th grade, he's 30 years old now, saying, "Hey, honey, hey, Mr. Oscar, this is my wife, this is my son, baby. The only reason we married because of what he taught me. I wouldn't be married today. I would have been out here having 5 baby mamas instead of a wife. So I'm gonna be here. You can't get rid of me now. I'm embedded in tens of thousands of people. So immortality is if you're the type of elder to just keep it to yourself. Because I had many tell me this. I said, man, teach me what you know. Oh no. So when you die, what you have go with you. You've ended your deal. But until if you embed yourself into our youth, they're gonna embed themselves into their children, and they're gonna pass it on. So you are immortal. That's how you become immortal. So death doesn't concern Brother Osco, because you're not gonna kill 60,000 of the people that I've touched. And then how many have they touched? See what I mean? So you done messed up. Now there ain't no fear factor of worrying about whether I'm gonna die or not. It's how am I gonna continue to move the needle? And then if death come, let it come. But you know I'm one of them lions that you're not gonna just tie me up and be in the trunk.
Tanisha, you haven't said 2 words.
I'm taking it all in. I'm listening.
You
know.
What I'm saying, what do you have to say on touch on some
Well,
of the
I
things?
want me personally.
Yeah.
You know, I see the problem. I've heard the problem. I want to know, how do we move forward? You know what it is. How do we move to the next level? Because there's just no such thing as just completely wiping us completely out. We do have to learn how to work together, and you know, capital was my answer to your original question, but it does have a lot to do relationships. When you're talking about, some of us can't even talk to each other in a respectable manner. You know, so how do we move forward? What is it? And I can only speak for me. I try to treat others the way I want them to treat me. That's the golden rule, right? But what happens when we have people that, you know, just not feeling that deal? How do we move forward? I can't tell police a grown folk.
Well, those of us who have like minds first have to unite. And that's where the great divide is, because each of us usually have a sucker in between of us.
And no matter how much we sit at the table, how often, I need to see some progress in this.
But first, I think what has to happen first, especially with our young people, they need to see a unified front. And I've heard that word a lot, you know, with Brother John. Until we show a unified front of solidarity, that they know I got your back, trust me, I've been doing this a long time. I had brothers that you wouldn't be nothing, everything about you would be nothing, everything but a woman. But because of my boys understand how I move, they automatically respect. Change your conversation when you see a woman walk by, pull your pants on when you see a woman. Now when she leave, go back to what you was doing, that's fine. Don't disrespect children. But when you have that type of leadership in your community, the community doesn't get behind it because Brother Osco don't come with the formal PhD. And see, our issues is just like Brother Jamu said. We keep bringing the same people in. They come in with the PhD because I cringe every time I hear mental health or trauma sensitive. That means now you don't want to pay me. And these folks who know how to write the grants go get it, and then they want to pay me $2 an hour to stop these brothers from killing each other. No, you're not going to do that. I know how to control those things. Get out of my way. Martin Luther King would never been successful if all them people wouldn't have got behind him. All them churches, they got behind him when he was 23, 24 years old. Why aren't we doing the same here and showing that unified front? But don't try to be the leader if you're not willing to have your head chopped off for the people. And this is part of the problem. We got people that we're calling leaders based on their education and based on who voted them into office. That don't make you a leader. A natural leader thinks about the whole, not just about how the outlook of who they are and worried about themselves. So we got to understand, we have not had natural leaders in position in a long time. We've had appointed leaders. You got a few natural born leaders that are pastors, but for the most part, a lot of people have been appointed by man, and they don't care about the whole. You can watch how people move, watch them. Everything about that person is going to be self-centered and just for the few in their circle. But when you have a natural leader, he or she is going to think about the whole. Nah, wait a minute, is that good for the children? Hold on, we can't do that because then you mess up Miss such and such neighborhood.
Let me interrupt you for a minute.
And I'm just talking about solution.
All right, hold on. I'm going to ask each one of y'all this. Let's go down the line. Where do you see the new leadership with Mayor Quentin Lucas, with Brandon Ellington, with Melissa Robinson? That's fundamentally who is representing the African American community, and what's the name in the 5th district?
Lee Barnes.
Lee Barnes. How do you feel that? Do you feel there's going to be a change in the way we approach some of the problems that we're having in the 5th and the 3rd district? Do you think that they? Well, it's your words. Let's hear it. or is it a joke?
Somebody else want to take that?
No. What you got to say? Everybody has what they have to say on that. You have a viewpoint on those individuals. I have one, and I'm pretty sure.
Who was in city council when you came to Kansas City? When those neighborhoods where you saw them thriving and stuff.
Well, it was Charles Hasley, and that man was a warrior, and he was for the community. It was Doc Holliday. It was Mark Bryant had just gotten into position. It was fundamentally when I came, it was Bruce Watkins, and let me see who else was a major player in the politics.
So let's just say this. So now who of that caliber has been in position since that time? And let's go back when I was younger, when I started recognizing folks in position in the 90s. Who has been in that situation since who really has pushed something? Because if you don't have people that push the envelope, then what do you have? And this is not knocking anybody other than saying, do they know how to work the system now? Versus, because we've been having our people in position for a long time.
Right. Now I'm gonna give you this real quick on that. I said this 30 years ago. All them PhDs, and that's what you've been talking about. I'm saying in our community, those people are not connected to the community no more. They've moved out the community. They've taken on other people's value system. And so
down psychologically.
Hold it. No, they First of all, I say you can't work in corporate America unless you assimilate. And our middle class has done one up on assimilation. You can assimilate, but then they've taken on the values of the majority community, and that main value is the dollar. And the dollar supersedes God, supersedes the family, supersedes everything. Look at the ungodly money that certain individuals have when you do the Forbes list, the billionaires. How much money can you spend in a lifetime? Some of these people have so much money that you couldn't spend it in 20 lifetimes. and you have all this poverty and all of the things that are going wrong in society. So we've got new leadership in DC. What do they call them? The crew, or the Congress, the women. It's about 4 of them. What do they call them? You know they got a name for them, and that's how I look at, maybe wrongly, Quentin, Ellington, and Robinson. That there's some new blood, and they might take our community in a different direction. And that's what I was saying.
Well, let me ask you a question, Carlos. If I said to you, take out your wallet and put it on the table over there. Now, I'm going to go ahead and get all the money out, and then just trust me, I'm going to take care of it. And then I come back, and I done bought myself a gold chain, I done bought myself, and you say, well, brother, what you do with the money? I said, well, man, I told you I was going to take care of it. Everything is fine. I'm doing fine. In other words, if I got your money and I don't have your agenda, I'm going to take care of me.
Right.
And don't you be shocked, okay? And so it doesn't matter how many new leaders we get in place. If we haven't developed our agenda for them, don't be shocked if they take the money and do what they plan on doing. Our community is basically putting our wallets on the table and then trusting that everything's going to be all right. You got to send your agenda down there. So here's the question. Barack Obama got elected. He had all of our support and hearts and minds. But what did he get accomplished for whom? The entire gay community agenda got taken care of. Why? Because when he went in, they had an agenda for him to execute. What agenda did we give him? We didn't give him no agenda. So the problem really is with us. It doesn't matter. You can send me down there if you want to. But if I got your agenda, I can make something happen. If I go down there by myself without an agenda, don't be shocked. So what I'm saying is really it's time for us to start talking about what is our agenda. And if we had to talk about what our agenda, this is what I'm afraid of. I know you're afraid of this. If we have to talk about what is our agenda, we got to talk about what's important to us. And we don't want to talk about that. Because here's the thing. If we want to talk about what's important to us, then we got to deal with the question of whether or not we have to evaluate, is it important for us to be responsible for providing food, clothing, shelter, safety, and security for our own community? Just say that was our agenda. That means every tax dollar that gets spent got to come back to making sure that our community, that we are providing food, clothing, shelter, safety, and security. That means we'd have to be responsible. That means now I got to be a man. And I'm so used to not being a man and just letting everybody else run my community. Now I got to stand up and be a man. Now I got to be responsible for my children. I'm so used to just sending them off to school and let somebody else take them. Now I got to go there and be responsible. We're afraid to have the conversation of really what it means to be free, to be self-determined. And when you do that, then you have an agenda. But if you don't want to do that, put your wallet on the table and just let them take the money and go off and do what they want to do. Then you can just complain about it, because that's the easy thing to do.
So, boy.
I agree.
No, hold it. What I'm saying, see, I understand that corporate America and money runs politics, but I really was trying to be up on this new group. But what you just did was threw some ice with the water to wake me up to what really is possibly can happen. Do you think that we can put an agenda, and who would you say would be responsible for putting an agenda together for our community that our current politicians can work with?
All of us.
We the people.
But I'm saying that's to me that doesn't have that's like this. And has anyone proposed a plan that we bring some intellectual, some economic people together to figure out this is the plan, this is what our agenda should be, and how do we move forward on that?
Oh yeah. For example, Tavis Smiley, you all remember that in the early 2000s, he had a group, they would meet every year, they talk about the plan for the agenda for Black America, they had that. They put something out there. Now, I'm proud of anybody that would just put something out there for us to discuss. So they put something out there. The Nation of Islam had a plan that they put out that came after the Million Man March. They put a plan out there, an agenda out there. The Congressional Black Caucus sometimes put an agenda out there, but it's basically an agenda that, for more of the same, support the Democratic Party, that kind of foolishness. But when it comes down to whoever you would identify as a sister or brother in this community that has integrity, all right, that has a track record of working for this community, call everybody to a meeting and say, we gotta figure out an agenda. And if the agenda just, again, my place, to make it basic, real simple, the agenda should just boil out as how do we provide food, clothing, shelter, safety, and security for our community? Just how? How do we do that? And that means, we don't have to take over the school. We gotta take over education in our community, because if we let somebody else put another agenda in our children, they're gonna come out of the street, they're gonna hate each other. So we don't deal with that. We don't take care of security. We just can't let folks run up in our community and do what they wanna do. We gotta have some kind of cultural restraints. I mean, we start talking about how to put that together, then we can make some serious progress. Then, if you want me to go down, or if you want anyone you know to go down and represent you, that's what they go down there with in City Hall. That's what they go down to Jeff City with. That's what they go to Washington with. And based on how successful we are delivering on those services, that determines the kind of leader they are. So that's what I would say. Anybody that has integrity and a track record for working for our folk, that's who you want to be. They qualify to sit at the table.
Tanisha, I want to hear a little more from you on your thoughts in general.
Well, as far as here in Kansas City, I can just only be hopeful. I am an African American, but I am not a descendant of this particular community. And honestly, the community has not really accepted or embraced me
Or your
for the
business?
time, or my business for the time that I've been here. So, you know.
How do you see that? I'm saying, and why do you see that?
Well, because that's what I have been presented with. I mean,
Because I met you. When did I meet you?
Well, you are a little bit different, Carlos.
He is.
They tell me I'm
you are a little bit different.
And he's not a native either. That's
right.
And so
I've been here since '78, Oscar. What you talking about?
But you're not though. And a lot of people look at that as me taking a shot towards Kansas City, and it's not a shot. But the relationships that Ajamo talked about, I don't have those. My mom didn't know your mom across the road, and I can't get a call from Pastor so and such and them because I didn't go to school with you guys. So there's a distance. I have been distant, just with and I know a lot of people. I do. I know a lot of Kansas Cityans, from the ex-mayor to this current mayor, all the way down to school teachers and whatnot. But I asked about where do we go? What's the process? What's the next steps? Because I do share the same skin tones, so therefore I get some of the same treatments. Just because I'm not from here does not mean that I don't go through some of the same things when it comes to being an African American, trying to run a small business, being a woman business owner, trying to run a small business. I just have a few extra hurdles because I'm not from this particular net group.
You find Kansas City cliquish?
Very, very, and that's just because I'm from someplace else.
Oh my.
I can only build. Oh wow!
I'm from here.
And you're from here.
It's cliquish.
Okay.
I mean, everybody guard a little something with it, even if it's not much.
But that goes back to what Ajamu was saying about being connected in a community way, not in these clique ways. We can't move forward, to me, until we have about 20,000 people going to a place to get information, to find out this is what the agenda is. And with, again, I'm going back to Cascade Media Group and What's Up Kansas City. If we had 20,000 people going to What's Up Kansas City at least 3 times a week on the materials, the assorted materials that we put out, I think it would educate people to a whole lot of different subject matter that they would find interesting, informative, that will change how they're thinking about certain things and possibly bring some of that closeness together, because now what you're doing, you can call in and say, this is what I'm doing. And he'll know.
But hold on, because that's just the part of me not being from here. But then you also have to deal with the issue of a lot of us do what we call don't talk about it, be about it. I can tell you I'm gonna do 1,000,001 things, and if I show no action towards getting anything done, then what?
Well, that's when I've said that they have when you have taken on the majority's values, because the community that our roots come from even the civil rights movement. If you're not riding the bus, I'm not riding the bus. The mentality now
And we
is
don't have that.
that
Yeah.
I got cab money, I got Rolls Royce
Color
money, and I don't
yeah.
care whether you walking.
Right.
It has nothing to do with color. And that all comes from being programmed. And as I said in the first show that we did, you know that show was 8 months ago, Ajamu, with Bussy? That we understand we have to watch our mouth on the plantation. When you're working for corporate America, you really got to watch yourself. If you're working for the school board, you really got to watch yourself. If you work in the city hall, you say the wrong thing, you find yourself without a job. And most of the time it's the wrong thing when you start talking about promoting positive things in your community and what needs to be done and who the villain is. They don't want to hear that. And so they have us in self-check. And I'm trying to see.
You got to check your caliber though, and here's the thing about these folks who are causing havoc and what we call order out of chaos. They know they can check your caliber before they attack you. They know if they got to bring an elephant gun, you ain't gonna bring an elephant gun and shoot a rabbit with it because you ain't gonna have nothing to eat. You're not gonna bring a 22 to an elephant. So the way they come at you determines your caliber. They like, nah, we gotta bring something big for this one because this is not the same. And there's two people in this country that are gonna be hard to touch. Because one sits by the heart. I got a partner that got shot. He got a bullet so close to the heart, doctor said leave it there because it's too risky. And the one, I got a partner, the bullet sit by his spinal cord. They said don't touch it. People like Oprah and Farrakhan. One is a bullet that sits by the spinal cord. You touch that one, you can cripple this country. The other one sits by the heart because all the women love her. But what it should say to you, sister, is this. You don't try to build something on the backs of people of color. It won't work. You have to have counterparts. You have to have connections with every group because we can't just survive off. You got to look at manhood and womanhood. And in that white community, there are real men there that have come and taught me so much throughout my years. I can't take that back. So you won't never see me just talking about, oh, the black got to do this and the black. I don't do that. Men got to do this. Women got to do that.
Well, I'm
And
on
a lot of them-
I'm on a different page.
What I'm just
Let me
saying
get
is-
you
but let me-
straight.
hold
Hold on, no, let me
gotta
tell
let me finish
you.
my experience,
I'm on
though.
it. Hold it. Yeah, but I'm saying I'm on a different page because when I'm even interviewing the majority community and this and that, and they be like, "Why you be going so hard?" I be like, "Y'all got 1 million TV stations, 1 million." Cable, you got 1 million newspapers, you got 1 million publications telling your story. And soon as I started to try to talk about me, is diversity. It's enough diversity in them other people's programs. I'm only concerned.
That's not what I meant.
All right.
I'm talking about that. Though.
All right. Well, I'm just making
We're
that
talking
clear.
I'm talking about partnerships and clientele, whatever that may look
Well,
like.
we wanna work-
because
hold it.
expanding your dollars is been done. We're
Hold
reaching
it.
out for that capital that
We,
we're talking
hold it.
about.
Let me say this. We want to reach out and we want to do business. In our first show, Ajamu really explained how economics worked in our community, and you have a base in your community and you work from that base to do business with the people outside your community, majority community or whoever. But what I am saying is that our platform, I'm only concerned with how to solve my problems. They got think tanks, they got 1 million different things solving all of their problems, and they got about 12 think tanks to say, how do we keep the poor people, not just the black people, in that box?
But see, and that's one of our issues as people. See, because I'm a younger generation. So when you got here, I was just a little bitty dude. But don't think that I don't understand and see things beyond. Because sometimes we can have such an old thinking that we can't move forward as a people because we got so much oomph in us. And I'm saying, I've been through all that though. I've been there and done all that. What I'm saying, we gotta be open-minded to understand that for whatever reason the universe put us all in this little continent, no matter how we got here. And if you don't understand and open your eyes and ears to listen and see what else is out there, because Tech Nine do you got a copy of Tech Nine CD? Do you got a copy of Tech Nine CD? Do you got a copy of his CD? Why is he still worth $20 million though?
I can go through the whole hood and knock on every other door. They don't have a copy of his music.
You know why
Hold
he's
on,
worth
listen.
20?
But I don't. But that's
Oh.
you're missing the point. He don't need us to be worth 20 million. You don't need us to build $1 million business. But what he did not do, because he didn't see us support him, he doesn't build anything back in the community. Michael Jordan did the same thing. He's so
He sure
busy,
did.
so thankful to the dude, his coach and all that he don't even understand the role. He should play with his own people.
And you know what?
that's
This
part
is-
of the
this is-
issue.
We were just
That's
talking
what I'm talking
this
about.
the other day. When I can speak to Michael Jordan, I grew up in the '92 Bulls. I'm from Chicago. Okay, so the original first set of Jordans. My daughter had on a pair of Jordans right now, but those aren't the original sets. The original sets was he was playing in North Carolina, and they were blue and light blue and white. Come on now.
Didn't know that.
You know, my thing is we were just talking about this because I heard that he gave like $200,000
He
to
just
the
gave
hurricane survivors to the Bahamas.
I thought it was
$2
$1
million.
million.
Maybe it was $2
It was $1
million.
million. I
Okay.
seen it today.
It was a 2 something, but he gave. Michael Jordan has never given anything. Now I saw the old United Center when I was born in '74. It was the old Coliseum, the old United Center. They tore it down and rebuilt it because of the amount of money that he brought through there. Everything, it's in the hood. Everything that's around is completely dilapidated. You'll
What?
see him come through there. We back in the day, so just hold tight.
Yeah, I didn't.
You didn't see him come through there giving up no Jordans, but yet every time Jordan shoes came out, the lines was around out the store and around the corner.
Marketing.
I mean, marketing or whatnot,
Look.
or maybe it was just the fact that black folks has a taste.
It wasn't no more.
And because wait a minute, British Knights marketed the same way Nike marketed. Why did we gravitate towards Nike and not British Knights?
Let me say
or
this.
Reebok, or
Popeye's
LA.
chicken, and I found myself yesterday leaving here trying to go get one of them chicken sandwiches. Look at the John. Pitiful. I'm just pitiful. It got up there on Patrice, and they was like, "No chicken sandwiches. We'll let you know when they come back."
I left that dead animal alone almost 20 years ago. But she's
The
exactly
only
right, because
thing
I've
that
been
I'm
up
saying-
there. Chicago's my second home. And I
Okay.
remember the first time going up there in '92, and they was talking so bad about the man. I'm like, what? And like, we down here loving him. I get up there and they talking bad about. I'm like,
Well, you
what?
love what he did on the court, but when it
But
comes
we thought
to,
his personality
to
matched the
helping-
court, though.
No,
That's what I mean.
No, when it comes to bringing something back to the community, it didn't happen. There's no centers. Well, they got a statue outside of the outside of the United Center, but there's no boys and girls clubs. There's no centers. And that's not, is it right? Is it wrong? I don't know. You do what you want to do with your money. That's understandable. But then this community that supports you, when they just thought that you was just a kid that couldn't play baseball, that wasn't never going to be able to play basketball, but these people stood out in the cold or make sure that the basketball game got the ratings in order to watch you play this game. That's the support. No, they didn't take you out for the $25 steaks. They didn't help you. Matter of fact, even when he opened the restaurant downtown in a place that most folks like me couldn't eat at. Not because we were not allowed in there, but at this point we just couldn't eat there because we couldn't eat there.
They was talking about that when I got up there. They said, "Man, he got that restaurant. He don't give out no sandwiches to us and none." I said, "But it's what I'm saying to you is that wherever the credit is given, that's why they don't mind. They'll give him $1 billion because they know he's not going to help build nothing for his own." And that's what my thing is. So, but he utilized that. Tech-9 utilized that. And every time them people help one of us come up, all we do is say, "Ooh, look at our people coming up." But they don't come back and do nothing for the community. They don't. Tech-9 should have a center in Kansas City that's about arts.
I agree.
Jordan should have all kind of stations and stuff set up. We got enough money in our communities that we could build our own NBA. We can have a National Black Basketball Association.
That's what I liked about. That's what I liked
saying?
about the 3-on-3.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think that was really going to work, but obviously he was able to get the majority community buy-in, and it now is trying to work. But you got to go to the people with the money.
But they also had a model too that was laid out before them. I mean, let's
What was
not
that?
forget about the Negro League. When there was a problem, or people did not want to allow us in, you can always just say, okay, I guess we don't get to do that. Or you can go and create your own. But at the beginning of the create your own, where we need to try and figure out how to make my little business help my little business work, we have to have, like Jamo said, an agenda. We have to have a set of progresses of how we gonna progress to get to this place. What we gonna do? We can sit around and talk about it all day, but then there has to be some action sooner rather than later as to how we gonna get there.
All right, we're gonna wind this up. Producer over here giving me it's time to close it down, Nelson.
Maybe
Know
we
you
gotta
like
have
to
a part
talk.
two. Gotta have a part two.
Yeah. Hold it. This is something that we're gonna edit out. But I think that I'm committed to trying to put an agenda together. Mr. Webster says we needed an agenda. So before the new year, I'm committed to trying to bring a couple of people together, a little committee, maybe a dozen people, half dozen, to talk about what should our agenda be. What should we give our county legislators, our state, and our local government? This is the agenda that we think we should be following. Are you in agreement with that?
Yeah, but I think everything shouldn't go in that agenda though.
What you got to say about that?
I mean, it sounds like a starting place. Yes.
Starting place? All right, people, it was a pleasure. And as we always end all of our shows, when you invest in your community, you're really just investing in yourself. Thank you.